You've told yourself you'll start tomorrow, and you meant it. You really did. But tomorrow came, and you didn't start. And the worst part isn't that you didn't follow through. The worst part is that you genuinely believed you would. This isn't about discipline. It's not about laziness or lack of willpower. It's about something far more uncomfortable. Your intentions, no matter how sincere, are terrible predictors of your actual behavior. We operate under a strange assumption. We think that deciding to do something is the hard part. Once we've committed, once we've made the choice, the rest should follow naturally. We tell ourselves we'll go to the gym tomorrow. We'll start the project this weekend. We'll finally have that difficult conversation next week. And in the moment we say it, we believe it completely. But research into human behavior shows something unsettling. The correlation between what people intend to do and what they actually do is weaker than most of us would like to admit. You can measure someone's intentions with remarkable accuracy and still have almost no idea what they'll actually end up doing. Here's why that matters. Every time you fail to follow through, you interpret it as a personal failure. You assume something is wrong with you. You're not motivated enough. You're not disciplined enough. You're not serious enough. So you double down on the intention. You make it stronger. You make it more specific. You add emotion to it. You visualize it. And then you fail again. The problem isn't the strength of your intention. The problem is that intention lives in a completely different environment than action. When you form an intention, you're in a reflective state. You're thinking about your life from a distance. You're considering your values, your goals, what kind of person you want to be. In this state, going to the gym makes perfect sense. Starting the project feels important. Having the difficult conversation feels necessary. Your future self in this moment seems reasonable and capable, but action doesn't happen in that reflective state. Action happens in real time, in a specific context, with specific obstacles and specific competing demands. And the person who has to act, your actual self in that actual moment, is dealing with things your intending self never considered. Studies on what's called the intention-behavior gap reveal something consistent. The environment you're in when you act has far more influence on what you do than the decision you made earlier. You intended to work on the project Saturday morning, but Saturday morning, you're tired. Your phone is next to you. The project requires opening a file that's annoying to find. A friend texts. The couch is comfortable. None of these were part of the equation when you formed the intention. Your intention was made by a version of you that didn't have to deal with the actual situation. And when the actual situation arrives, it votes. And it votes loudly. Here's what makes this even stranger. You don't notice the gap while it's happening. You don't think, I intended to do this, but the environment is stopping me. You just don't do it. The intention fades. It gets replaced by something easier or more immediately rewarding. And later you remember that you intended to act, and you interpret your inaction as weakness. But research suggests something different. Your behavior isn't primarily driven by your intentions. It's driven by what researchers call automaticity. Cues in your environment trigger actions you've done before in that context. You walk into your kitchen. You open the fridge. Not because you decided to. Not because you're hungry. But because that's what you do in that room. You sit at your desk. You open the same websites. You pick up your phone. You check the same apps. No intention required. Most of your day is like this. Small actions, triggered by context, executed without conscious decision. And when you try to insert a new behavior, an intended behavior into this system, it has to compete. It has to fight for space against actions that are already wired into that context. You intended to write before work, but your morning routine is already full. Coffee, emails, news, shower. Each action triggers the next. There's no gap where writing fits, so it doesn't happen. Not because you don't care, but because intention alone doesn't create space in a system that's already running. This explains why you can want something desperately and still not move toward it. You want to change careers. You want to learn a new skill. You want to repair a relationship. The wanting is real. The intention is sincere. But wanting doesn't disrupt the pattern of what you actually do every day. And here's the uncomfortable part. You can't fix this just by wanting it more. You can't intention your way out of an environment problem. You can make a vision board. You can write down your goals. You can tell people about your plans. And none of it changes the fact that when you're sitting in your actual room, at your actual desk, with your actual phone next to you, the context will still cue the same behaviors it always has. There's a reason why some people seem to follow through effortlessly, while others struggle despite caring just as much. It's not character. It's not discipline. It's whether the behavior they intend is compatible with the environment they're actually in. Someone who works out consistently isn't doing it through sheer intention. They've structured their day so the gym is on the way home, or they go at the same time every day so it's automatic, or they've removed friction by keeping their gym clothes ready. The intention matters, but it's not doing the work. The environment is. Someone who writes every morning didn't just decide to write. They built a routine where writing happens before anything else, before email, before distractions, before decisions. The intention started it, but the structure sustains it. This doesn't mean intentions are useless. It means they're the beginning, not the end. Intending to do something is necessary, but it's not sufficient. And if you stop there, if you think the decision is enough, you'll keep experiencing the same gap. Here's what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean you're powerless. It doesn't mean behavior change is impossible. It doesn't mean you should stop setting goals or caring about what you do. It just means that caring isn't the part that was missing. You already care. The missing part is the bridge between intention and context. And it doesn't mean every failure to follow through is an environment problem. Sometimes you don't do something because you don't actually want to. Sometimes the intention was borrowed from someone else's values, not your own. Sometimes you're trying to do too much. This isn't a universal excuse. It's a specific explanation for a specific pattern. But if you notice that you genuinely intend to do things and then don't, and you keep interpreting that as a personal flaw, it might be worth considering a different explanation. Maybe the issue isn't your commitment. Maybe it's that you're asking intention to do a job it was never designed for. Your intentions tell you what you value, but your environment tells you what you'll do. And until those two align, the gap will remain. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. And humans don't run on intention alone.